All right, today we're going to be taking a look at a watch that I think is really kind of gunning for that same segment of the market that MVMT or movement watches is shooting for, this kind of younger millennial generation. But I think they're putting out a product that is a better value, better price, and much better quality and design and character than anything that Movement has put out. The question, though, then is, is this also a watch that is good for, or that would be interesting to kind of more watch collectors or watch enthusiasts? So today we're going to try and take a look at that and examine that, and we're going to be taking a look at the Prestige from Mileneal watches. Hashtag be complete now. Okay, I'm not 100% on board with their marketing strategy, but again, I think they have a very clear target demographic in mind, which kind of is me. I was born in 1981, so I think that makes me a millennial, if that counts. But yeah, this is a watch that, the brand, this is their second watch that they've come out with, and they kind of have in mind this sort of young professional, someone who's maybe just entering the workforce or trying to kind of climb up the corporate ladder. And I think their whole idea is they're trying to sell you on this idea that, you can get a good, decent quality timepiece without having to save up and spend 10 grand on a Rolex, right? So they're marketing the Prestige. This version of the watch is coming in at a price point of $100 for the quartz version, which I have to review here today, and $200 for the automatic version. And overall, I think these are fair prices, and surprisingly, despite the marketing, again, not quite hitting squarely with me, I think the watch is actually pretty good. And so that's I think the upside to all this. Okay, so let's start by talking about the dimensions of the watch. You're getting a 40 millimeter diameter, 20 millimeter lugs, 48 millimeter lug to lug, and 11 millimeter thickness. So absolutely perfect dimensions for a dress watch, I think. Additionally, they've went ahead and put in a Swiss Ronda movement inside, so it's nice to see a little bit higher end quartz movement. You get a Miyota, I forget the reference number on the automatic, but you guys can look it up in the links below. It's a Miyota movement that's in the automatic version. You're getting sapphire coated glass, so it's mineral glass that's been coated with sapphire. Again, always better to get full sapphire, I think, but again, in this price range, that's a nice minor upgrade on the crystal. To at least get sapphire coated, you get a little bit of extra scratch resistance there. 50 meters of water resistance, that's great. It's always good to get a little bit of extra water resistance for peace of mind. And then you're getting a decent strap. The straps, I think the best thing about them is they're quick release straps, which is always nice to see. They sell straps on their website that you can get matching hardware. So I have the rose gold version, so in that case it's particularly nice to pick up straps from the manufacturer because it's harder to get a matching buckle that matches the color of the metal of the watch. So it's nice that they have some options there, and they actually sent me an extra strap, so we'll be looking at that as well. One kind of confusion about the straps. So the straps are stamped genuine leather, but then in their literature and in their advertising, they say that it's full grain leather. So there's a bit of a conflict there, and I actually reached out to them to try and get some clarification. I'm still not 100% sure what's going on here, but I'll talk more about that later on in the review when we get to the negatives of this, because I think there's something to clear up there. So moving on to the actual design of the watch, and I think this is kind of the strong point. It has a very bold, distinct design, particularly in the colors that they chose. Really, I love this green and gold combination. It's a really striking, really beautiful color combination. I think the blue and gold is also really cool. I was really kind of tough to choose between them because the dial colors that they offer are just, I think, really amazing colors, really eye-catching. The color really pops. This one, it's a kind of an emerald green, and they call it a fume dial. Fume dial? I don't know how you pronounce it. But you're getting a sunburst pattern, so you get that typical sunburst where it reflects off the light differently, but it's a lighter shade in the middle and it gets gradually darker to the edges. And that combination of the sunburst and the fume dial really gives you a really beautiful dial. You get so many different color variations depending on the lighting. If you're outdoors in a cloudy light versus sunlight, or indoors, it goes anywhere from like a really deep dark emerald green to almost like an algae or ice green in certain lightings. You'll get some lightings where you'll get like a really bright green in the middle, and then it'll fade to almost black on the edges. And it's just a really pretty watch to look at. And so I think that's definitely the big standout feature here, is that dial and the finishing that they've done on it. And again, the colors that you can get. So you can get it in this green, you can get it in blue, which also looks really striking. And then they have this kind of silver color. It's probably, you know, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more versatile, the silver one might be a one to pick up. Additionally, you're getting these kind of matching dolphin hands that match the case color on the watch. So in my case, I've got gold hands. Yeah, really kind of elegant looking. It might stand to be a little bit longer, but I think overall they're pretty well sized. Also on the dial, you have these kind of rectangular hour markers that are very kind of on the larger side. They're not large, but they're very bold, very almost industrial, or a little bit on the brutish side. They really kind of stand out against the hands and the dial and the crown, which I feel like I kind of lend a more elegant look, whereas the hour markers are these kind of just big flat rectangles that are fairly thick. So it's kind of that's kind of a jarring contrast to me. I think I would have preferred to see something a little bit more elegant on the markers, but they do catch the light very well, and they've got some nice beveling on the edges that give it a little bit of visual interest depending on the light that catches on it. And then one thing that I really like about this is the crown that they selected. So they've got this kind of a little bit more ornate crown that's kind of, I don't know what you call it exactly. I've seen it before. It's not an onion crown, but it's really easy to grip. It kind of angles almost like a cone shape into the watch, so you can grab it real easily, and then it's just got a really unique texture on it and around it, so it adds a lot of character to the watch. It's also a signed crown, which is always nice to see. On the case itself, you're getting some nice vertical brushing on the sides, polished bezel, and then a little bit of polishing on the underside, so a nice contrast between the brushing and the polishing. Really nice looking finishing, I think, especially in this price range. They did a really good job there. The crystal is a fairly high domed crystal, which is kind of cool. You get some really cool distortions at extreme angles, so that again also adds to the character of the watch. And character is something that I think this watch has a lot of. They didn't just go for a kind of boring, basic, minimalist looking watch. They went for something, they tried to add some more character to it, and I definitely appreciate that. And I think they did a really good job of it. But let's go ahead and move on to the negatives now and some of the cons. So first, let's talk about this band. I think the band, just judging purely by the quality of the band and what they've offered, is a perfectly fine band. It's a decent band. It's what I would expect in this price range. They're comfortable. They've got quick release. The leather feels like a decent quality leather. So that's good there. The part that's a negative, again, is that confusion between what they're stating on their website and in their literature and what's stamped on the back of the watch. So I emailed them and asked them, and they said the band is actually full grain leather, but there's just a mistake on the printing and they need to get that fixed. But they said that the band is full grain leather. I'm not 100% convinced they're right on that, actually having it in hand. To me, this feels like a genuine leather strap. And even if it is a genuine leather strap, I don't think that really affects the price or the value or anything. I think if it had a full grain leather strap, that would be a huge bonus. Like that would push the value proposition of this watch up a couple of notches. The fact that I think this feels like a genuine leather strap doesn't push it down. I think for the price, it's still a great strap. Again, it's just that confusion and that contradiction between what's printed on the dial or printed on the back of the leather strap and what is actually and how it feels, and then what's said in the advertising literature. That confusion, I think, is a negative there. Another minor negative, there is a lot of glare coming off of the crystal, particularly when you're outdoors. And then sort of a negative, I think there's, again, some minor design quirks, and this is where it's going to get very subjective. Again, I like the design elements that they've included. I like what they're going for, and I like a lot of the individual elements and how they come out. I really appreciate them, but it doesn't seem like an incredibly cohesive whole to me. And then last, really minor quirk. So when I first opened it up, I've seen some other reviews say this, when you open up the box, there was a really strong chemical smell coming out of it, which wasn't that pleasant. Pretty sure it was coming from the pillow. I was smelling everything. The leather actually smelled like The leather on the strap smelled pretty good, smelled like leather. The watch didn't have any chemical smell, but it seemed like the watch pillow had this kind of polyurethane, plasticky smell that was fairly strong, and I think that's where it was coming from. It doesn't really, again, it doesn't seem to affect the watch at all, so maybe that's not a negative on the watch, but that was just one thing to note. All right, so with all that in mind, who is this watch for? Is it a watch that's for you or me as a millennial, since I'm a millennial? Yeah. So let's talk about millennials first, or who they're targeting here. Again, is this a good watch for someone who's kind of, entering the workforce? They need something nice to wear, something that'll look good, and is not going to break the bank. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's definitely one that you should consider, especially if you're interested in something like movement. If MVMT watches has caught your eye and you've been considering that, I think I started with a movement watch. It's kind of interesting. I went through this. I guess I am who they're targeting, because that's how I got into watches. I bought a movement watch because I wanted a dressier watch that I could wear for nicer occasions, and I think exactly the type of person that Millennial and Movement are both marketing to. Now I'm a lot more into watch collecting, so I have a different perspective. This watch, I think, is better in every conceivable metric than the Movement watch that I purchased. It's not, miles better, but it's a better design, more interesting design, better components, better price. Yeah, everything about it, it's a better watch than I think what the comparable offerings that Movement offers, and it's a lot cheaper than Movement. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, if that's what you're looking for, then I think this is definitely something to consider and something to look at. One thing to keep in mind, though, is if you are new to watches, and if you're looking for kind of your first watch, if you're the kind of guy who would be considering a Movement watch, there are other options besides Movement. There's other options besides Millennial. Look around and see. Check out some other reviews. Particularly, check out the Orient Bambino. I think is a similar style watch. The Bambinos tend to be more expensive than the quartz version of this watch, but cheaper than the mechanical version of this watch. But the Bambinos they're all mechanical watches. So I've got a review of one Bambino. I encourage you to check that one out as well. But again, it's largely going to come down to style. This watch has, I think, a very unique style, really bold colors, much bolder than I think what either Movement or the Orient lines are offering typically. Now, what about the collector? What if you have something of a watch collection that you're starting up? You're not necessarily a millennial who's looking to get their first watch or get their start and to be complete now. Does this watch have anything for you? Again, I think it's coming back to the same thing. The unique feature about this watch is that bold color and style, and for me, it's been really fun to have a nice accent piece like this. Like, I've really enjoyed having that option. It's particularly when you're picking the colors like this gold and green. To me, that's not something that I can wear with any outfit, but if I wear it with the right outfit, it looks really good. It's a great pop of color. It's really elegant looking. It can work really well. And so if that's where you're going with your collection, if you're looking for kind of these more specific kinds of things, this might be a fun one to add. And again, the price is fairly low. If you're going for the quartz version, you can pick it up for $100. Again, automatic version, I think they're kind of selling out on those, so I'm not sure how many of the automatic ones are left, but those ones run for $200. Again, I think it's a very fair price. All right, so overall, I think the prestige that we've got here, it's a really beautiful watch, really eye-catching, decent price. Definitely something that's worth your consideration. I encourage you guys to check them out. If you go down to their website, I'll put a link down below in the description. But that will go ahead and wrap up the review today. Thank you guys for watching as always. And always interested to hear what you guys think, particularly of this watch. Let me know what you guys think of the colors. Check out some of the other ones. Is this the kind of thing that you would wear? Are you into these kind of really colorful, sort of more statement kind of pieces, or are you into something more subdued and classic looking? Let me know what you guys think. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.